Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Trump to address UN General Assembly as France recognizes Palestinian state. Unknown gunmen kidnap Plateau lawmaker. Security operatives reopen Senator Natasha's office at National Assembly, and a reps member urges Atiku Obi to step down for President Tinubu. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The World News at 12 begins outside the shores of Nigeria, where France has formally recognized a Palestinian state, becoming the latest in a wave of countries to take the step. Speaking at the UN in New York, President Emmanuel Macron said the time for peace has come and that nothing justifies the ongoing war in Gaza. U.S. President Donald Trump is due to address the UN General Assembly today, as will the leaders of key regional players such as Jordan and Qatar. U.S. President Donald Trump will address the assembly. On Monday, the U.S. did not attend a one-day summit hosted by France and Saudi Arabia, which focused on plans for a two-state solution to the conflict. Fellow G7 states, Germany and Italy, were also absent. Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta, Andorra, and San Marino are also due to recognize a Palestinian state after the UK, Canada, Australia, and Portugal announced recognition on Sunday. International pressure is ramping up on Israel over the unfolding humanitarian crisis in Gaza and settlement building in the West Bank. Back home in Nigeria, more details have emerged following the abduction of the lawmaker representing Pankshin South constituency in the Plateau State House of Assembly, Honorable Denti Lavin Jacob. Honorable Jacob was abducted on Monday by unknown gunmen from his home at the Dung area, a community in the Jos North local government area of the state. The area has now become a hotbed of kidnappers and other criminal elements. Though the government, the police, and other security agencies in the state have not released any statement, a family member who spoke to journalists on the condition of anonymity this morning said the honorable was abducted when he came home from an outing with some friends. The family member said the kidnappers must have trailed the lawmaker right from the venue of his outing with friends. In a recent development, social commentator Shehu Ghazali Sadiq has stated that the All Progressives Congress APC government is involved in the terrorism troubling northern Nigeria. In a post on his X handle today, Sadiq declared that only a fool would believe the ruling party has no hand in the insecurity, insisting that the signs are too obvious for all to see. His comment drew a wave of reactions from citizens online, with many echoing his claims and accusing the ruling party of shooting and negotiating with terrorists. One respondent, identified as SK Ruben, accused the current administration of protecting and negotiating with terrorists rather than distancing themselves from them. He also criticized the media for often referring to attackers as suspected terrorists instead of naming them outright. Meanwhile, security operatives have unsealed the office of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, representing Kogi Central at the National Assembly. The office, located in Suite 205 of the Senate wing, had been locked following her suspension from the Red Chamber earlier this year. The development gives the Kogi Senator access to her office and the premises of the National Assembly. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, a lawyer, was suspended for 6 months by the Senate over alleged breaches of its standing rules. On July 4th, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja ruled that the suspension was excessive and unconstitutional. Despite the judgment, the Senate insisted she could not resume her duties without a fresh resolution or a definitive court order. With her office now reopened, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan may be on course to resume her legislative activities. Her lawyers have argued that she is not a flight risk and remains innocent until proven guilty, while further court proceedings are awaited. Still on the world news at 12, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara on Monday in Abuja said he is at peace with his political benefactor. He also noted that proper peace has returned to the state after a month-long feud that triggered an emergency rule in March. Speaking to journalists after meeting the president at Aso Rock Villa in Abuja, Governor Fubara stressed that he had resumed his duties in an atmosphere of peace and cooperation. Fubara also revealed that his visit to the president was a courtesy call and an opportunity to seek direction following the expiration of the 6-month emergency rule that saw his suspension and those of key political leaders in the state. Member representing Agege Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Dr. Wale Ahmed, has told critics of President Bola Tinubu to shelve any plans of challenging him in the 2027 election, insisting that a second term for the president is guaranteed. This comes despite opposition parties and the PBP, the ADC, Labour Party and New Nigeria People's Party NNPP vowing to unseat the president in the next general election. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, ex-Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and the ADC coalition led by former Senate President David Mark have been at the forefront of criticizing the current administration. Speaking at a stakeholders briefing held at the Agege Local Government Secretariat, Ahmed argued that since late President Muhammadu Buhari from the north was allowed to complete 2 terms, it was fair that President Tinubu from the south completes 2 terms as well. He also held that the president's bold reforms and foreign engagement had earned Nigeria international respect and laid the foundation for long-term economic recovery. Ahmed said, and I quote, "All his opponents should rest and allow him to have a second term. All opposition should simply rally round and support Tinubu." Late President Muhammadu Buhari from the north served 2 terms, so Tinubu should also have his second term. By God's grace, his second term is assured. I will mobilize my constituents to ensure Tinubu is returned for another term. End quote. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break and return with more news stories and the news analysis segment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. The factional leadership of the African Democratic Congress ADC, led by acting national chairman Nafiu Bala, has given fresh conditions for accepting the interim leadership of former Senate President David Mark and ex-Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola. Bala, who spoke through his special advisor on strategic communication Abimiku Monday during a Monitor television interview today, stressed that the duo must begin at the ward level and align with the existing ADC structure. Now joining us to discuss these issues on the World News at 12 this afternoon, I have a public affairs analyst as well as political, social and national affairs commentator, and he speaks on national issues on television and of course on radio as well. He is Mazi Amobi Ihegber. Thank you so much for joining me today and good afternoon. Welcome to the World News at 12. Can you hear me, Mazi? Welcome to World News at 12. Hello, Mazi, are you there? All right. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to end that call and give you a call back. He's joining us via the telephone, so it seems we are experiencing connection issues. But yes, I'm already giving him a call back. We want to talk about the factional leadership of the ADC, giving Senator David Mark and Rauf Aregbesola conditions to be accepted as the leaders of the party. And this is coming from Nafiu Bala, who says he is the rightful leader of the party. We'll also talk about Senator Natasha having her office reopened at National Assembly. Welcome back, Mazi Amobi Ihegber. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Let us actually begin with the newest development. Security operatives have reopened the office of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan at the National Assembly. We know that she was denied entry despite the fact that this case is in court and despite the fact that in July, the Federal High Court in Abuja ruled that the suspension was excessive and it was unconstitutional, and therefore she must be allowed to resume her legislative duties. Now that the office has been reopened, does this mean that the National Assembly is ready to welcome her back into their fold?
That is the most common sense thing to do. We have said it even before now, that on the 23rd of September, being today, that the National Assembly has no alternative than to allow Senator Natasha to resume her legislative functions. That's the most commonest thing to do. Let's take a cue from what President Tinubu did in Rivers State. There are avalanche of court cases, on the state of emergency in Rivers State. Tinubu did not, pass on the fact that these court cases exist. Then he will now rely on the common phrase prejudice to elongate the emergency rule in Rivers State. The emergency rule was lifted after 6 months. So the National Assembly has no alternative, despite what they said about being prejudiced and all that. The Natasha must resume today. They can continue their legal battle. Of course, with what the lawyers are saying, it becomes an academic exercise. So they have served her term. I think the National Assembly should not overheat the polity by doing otherwise. That is the most sensitive, cautionary step to take to douse the political tension in Nigeria. I'm not surprised.
You're not surprised with what is happening. Are you saying that all the while that she was being stopped from accessing National Assembly and resuming her legislative duties was because they wanted her to serve out that 6-month term fully before coming back? Was that a way of punishing her? Was that a way of saying, okay, you actually have to be on punishment for what you did, for contravening the Senate standing rules, despite the fact that the court has said, look, you need to allow her to resume legislative duties? I understand that this is what happens within the National Assembly, and it is the prerogative of the National Assembly to deal with its officers the way it wants to. But then, this is not enough for you to say that her constituents will not be represented for 6 months. How do her constituents get that 6 months back now? That 6 months of non-representation. How do they get it back? The people of Kogi Central.
If you allow the National Assembly, if not for the pressure the Nigerian people excited on National Assembly, you couldn't have gotten this, they couldn't have opened that office by now. The Nigerian people, the power of the people cannot be underestimated. If we allow National Assembly leadership, they will bask on the fact that it is prejudice, and then the case will get to Supreme Court. By that time, the life of the National Assembly may have expired. So it's a kind of, if we allow them, they will want Natasha not to come back. But because of the pressure we've piled on them, they've seen reasons why they should not elongate that suspension. Ordinarily, their own rules states that you should not suspend somebody more than 14 days. But they went all out, breaking their own rules. This is a country of impunity. Even those who make the law break the law. I can't understand. So what we are saying in effect is that it's good she has served out her suspension, so there is no reason on earth why she should not resume, court case or not court case. But on the issue you are raising, well, they have lost it because of the impunity in Nigeria, Kogi Central. Because the woman, despite the fact that even within the suspension, she was equally in touch with her people. That is what a legislator should do. She was in touch with her people. So it's a lesson to both, to National Assembly that they should not overreach themselves. I cannot see any reason why Natasha should not be allowed to resume. And thank God they have seen reason why she should resume. So she can continue from where she stopped.
She can't continue from where she stopped, but the question is, how do the people of Kogi Central get their 6 months of non-representation back? They have already been not represented for the past 6 months. And also, why do you think that they were very comfortable with not following the court order from the Federal High Court?
Impunity. The National Assembly is impunity, my dear sister. There is no other way to explain it. The laws are there. The laws are there that they have overreached themselves and all that. There are precedents, where legislators have been suspended for not more than 14 days. Why must this one be an exception? That was why people were looking at it from different perspectives. And it is vindictive. It's a way of shortchanging her in the house and all that and all that. But what I'm saying in effect is that, thank God they have seen reason, because before now, they were hell-bent on, extending her tenure in disguise that the thing is in the court. That was why the acting clerk of the National Assembly to the Senate now wrote that letter he wrote. But that letter gingered the Nigerian citizens, to up their ante. Because if we do not up our ante in terms of, piling the pressure, what we have achieved today would not have been achieved. That's the point I'm making. It's better not late than late. She took her pieces and then, try to cover the lost grounds. I know she can cover the lost grounds. Like I stated earlier on, she, under the suspension, she was still in touch with her people. So I do not think they have lost much.
As much as she was in touch with her people, it was not officially as the senator representing them at the National Assembly.
I agree with you, but what do you do? What do you do? You see, the Nigerian elite, the political elite, has a way of ganging up. Once they gang up against you, you are in trouble.
So you're saying that they ganged up against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan?
Yes. Her own political party, the PDP, the Labour Party, and what have you, did not come to her rescue when the imbroglio started.
But did her own party also support her? If we're talking about other opposition parties, what about the party that she belongs to? What about the members of her party at the National Assembly?
That's what I'm saying. It was later, that they now started doing garagara where, that when she was suspended, why didn't you cry out? No, it's a minus on them. So this can be discussed. That is, it is what they call lobbying. They should have lobbied so much that suspension for 6 months couldn't have happened. They could have reduced it. That is the sense of being a political party. She's not there as Natasha. She's there as a PDP senator representing Kogi Central. So I blame the political parties for not doing what they are supposed to do. I blame them so much for not doing what they're supposed to have so much.
All right. As much as you say the political party she belongs to did not do what they are supposed to do, she did not rest on her oars, and she actually took that case to court. But she has come out just yesterday to accuse the federal government of persecuting her politically. She accused the federal government brazenly of political persecution and saying that the federal government exhibited double standard. Now, there was a preliminary objection yesterday. She wanted the 6 count filed against her to be dismissed. These 6 counts were filed by the Attorney General of the Federation. Now, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is contending that the federal government was very quick to file charges against her based on the complaint of the Senate President Godswill Akpabio against her, but that the same government ignored her own earlier petitions against Akpabio. The charges were actually filed under the Cyber Crimes Prohibition and Prevention Amendment Act 2024. It was brought following petitions by the President of the Senate, Akpabio, former Governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, over some remarks she made during a public address and a television interview where she said that they were planning to have her assassinated. So she is saying that the federal government was very, very quick to take that case to court to prosecute her or persecute her, as the case may be, because that's what she is claiming, but that they did not act on the petition of sexual harassment that she brought against the President of the Senate. Would you say the federal government was protecting the President of the Senate based on Senator Natasha's testimony or contention?
That is double standard. I said they ganged up. That's what I'm saying. They are very quick in, going to court to protect Akpabio. They are not very quick in also protecting Natasha, who, by the way, Akpabio is just the first among equals. Both as senators of the Federal Republic. Tomorrow, Akpabio can come down as an ordinary senator, while Natasha can be the Senate president. It's first among equals. So, this is party politics. Like I said, their own political party, PDP, and possibly the other opposition party did not stand up for her. Otherwise, this thing couldn't have gone to this extent. You understand what I'm saying? So it is now a question of APC versus PDP in the National Assembly. Of course, the Attorney General belongs to APC. That is why some of us have argued very persuasively too that the position of the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice should be bifurcated. He should have a clear cut. Minister of Justice and Attorney General is a much more professional position. Minister of Justice is, a party position. People have argued very well because that is the only ministerial position that is enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution. So there has to be a clear-cut demarcation between the Attorney General office and the Minister of Justice office. If we had had this distinction, I want to agree. I want to persist that case could have been looked at on merit. But now, I think with the going on, probably they have seen the handwriting on the wall and all that. There is no need overheating the Nigerian polity because what happened in Nepal a few weeks ago is an eloquent testimony of the power of the people. So they will not, I believe, they have looked at the whole scenario, do their minus flaws, and found out that it will be an exercise in futility to continue to persecute Natasha for a term, 6 months she has served on. Whatever that is there, of course, they have downplayed the issue of sexual harassment. So the other issues have been taken over by the inflation of time. So resume.
All right, then let's actually move on to another conversation right here on the World News at 12 and talk about Governor Simfubara just in a few minutes. Talk about Governor Simfubara meeting with President Bola Tinubu yesterday in Aso Rock. He says he went there to talk about how to sustain peace in Rivers State. Granted, he's just coming back from suspension as the governor of the state. He just resumed his duties after 6 months of being away. But does he really need the president to tell him how to sustain peace in Rivers? Does he really need to interface with the president to tell him how to have a communication, to have that, to just talk to his people? Does he need the president and Wike, as the case may be, to tell him what to do in Rivers State? A lot of people believe that he's coming right now with his tail between his legs, that he'll be coming in as a puppet. Would you say his visit to Aso Rock reinforced that? Or did he just go to thank the president and say, oh, I've seen what you have done and thank you for your efforts on the people of Rivers?
Going forward, Fubara is in a much more worse situation now than he was before the fight with Wike. That is the summary. He's in a much more worse situation than when the fight with Wike started. He said it's a thank you visit. If you looked at his address to the people of Rivers State, for almost 30, the thanking, giving appreciation to Wike and the president took about 25% of that speech. Just thanking Mr. President for a job well done and meeting Wike and all that. So what is there is that I do not see Fubara, standing up again. He will be. I lack what to begin to describe what I will see in the next future, in the nearest future for Fubara. What is important for the people of River State is that there is a peace. It could be peace of the graveyard, but that Fubara is in a much more precarious situation than he was before the fight. He will take dictations, he will take directives from Wike and Mr. President. Whatever they tell him to do in the interest of peace, he will say it's like a conquered territory. Fubara is like a conquered territory. The structure he was trying to build or destroy and build his own has also been built by Wike with this concluded local government election and all that. So everything put together, I think Fubara will just pipe down and serve out his term. We also learned from things in public space that he will not seek re-election and all that. So with all these things saddled around him, he doesn't have any choice And more importantly, too, I would not be surprised if he defects to APC. And that will spark off another controversy because the people that is in APC who have greater ambition will not allow him to settle down. So overall, if you ask me, the summation of the whole scenario is that Fubara should be much more humbler. He should be much more humble than what he was before the fracas started.
All right then.
Are the losers in all these things.
All right,
If I knew, I wouldn't fight to the last. I wouldn't have started the fight. Don't start fight, you will not finish.
Well, he couldn't have known that he wouldn't be able to finish the fight when it started. Still talking politics, let's look at the ADC giving David Mark leadership fresh conditions. As a faction within the ADC, the faction of Nafiu Bala, who claims that he is actually the rightful national chairman of the party. Speaking on a television interview earlier today, through his special advisor on strategic communication, Nafiu Bala is saying that former Senate President David Mark and former Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola must begin at the ward level and start to align with the existing ADC structure, saying that if they follow the legal procedures of joining the party through the electoral wards identified with the actual existing structure of Nafiu Bala, then they will definitely be accepted. But Chief Ralph Moses and other people stepped down for former Senator David Mark, former Minister Rauf Aregbesola, and others to take over the party. Some people believe, some Nigerians and political analysts believe, that this person who's coming out say he's the rightful national chairman is being sponsored by other people who want to disrupt and destroy the opposition coalition of the ADC. What do you say?
This is a voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau. Ruling party do not want a strong ADC. Labour Party, PDP have also accused the ruling party of causing confusion within their ranks. Of course, it pays them. It pays them that the PDP and the LP and ADC have not closed ranks. The weaker ADC, LP, and PDP, the better for APC. So I completely agree, but it is now left for the Mark-led ADC to also do their groundwork. Somewhere on the wings is Lawmaker, the presidential candidate for ADC in 2023. Is also spitting fire. What means that Aregbesola and David Mark and co should also do their homework very, very well. They should also do their homework very well and then ensure that they bring all these stakeholders together. The more stronger, united the ADC is, the better for them and the worse for APC. So I completely agree that it is the voice of Esau, the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau in this matter. Completely agreed.
So you're saying that these Nafiu Bala, maybe Kachiku and others who are speaking against the current leadership of the ADC are being sponsored maybe by other opposition who are against the ADC in order to disrupt the stability of the party?
Other opposition cannot instigate crisis in another opposition. It is much more reasonable to agree that it is the ruling party because they want to unseat the ruling party. The ruling party is also doing our homework very, very well. You understand what I'm saying? President Tinubu once said that the more crisis in the opposition party, the better for them. If you tell me I should go there and begin to ask them to unite, that was President Tinubu saying. So the more crisis they have, the more unlikely they are, present a united front. Like now, PDP, we are not too sure whether PDP produce a presidential candidate. It is not unlikely with the avalanche of crises they have. Avalanche of crises they have among themselves. In the same way, the ADC is also now, having problems here and there. They are solving it gradually because there was the other time we saw that chairman of state branches and all that. I think they have handled that one. So the Bala angle and the maybe Katibu angle will also be, handled they trudge towards 2027, some of these things will settle down. They are politicians, they know their game. It is a game they know too well. Most of these people in the APC, we are once in PDP and Labour Party and all that. All of the people in ADC now are once also in APC and PDP. You understand what I'm saying? So it is a game they know too well how to play. 2027 is a short time, but it's still a long time in politics. You understand what I'm saying? Table can change. They are also doing, I know, wherever they are subterranean moves toward, ensuring that some of these issues are but all in all, these political parties themselves have also put up statements that it is the ruling party that is causing this crisis within them. But they are up to the task. I think they are up to the task because a stronger opposition is better for Nigerians.
A stronger opposition is better for Nigerians. Well, then you'd say the opposition needs to rally together. Does that mean that other parties should be looking to join in the ADC coalition? Even as Kwankwaso, who was presidential candidate of the NNPP, talks about conditions for him to go back to the APC, and the NNPP says they will not be joining him on that journey.
If you ask my candid opinion, coalition is the way to go. No single political party can confront APC. No, PDP cannot do so single-handedly. The Labour Party cannot do so single-handedly. The newly coalesced party, ADC, cannot do that single-handedly. But if they join forces, they will be able to torpedo whatever APC stands for. I very believe, because we need a credible, strong, focus-driven opposition party. Because what the APC is doing is like a king that does not want advice from anybody. So the stronger the opposition, the better for the political party. If the opposition comes in strategically with alternative policies and all that, and demonstrate leadership within themselves, if APC can do it in 2015, APC can also do it in 2027.
That is replicating the same playbook from before, but hasn't the rules of the game changed? If the APC, they actually floated that particular rule, if they used that particular, if they played that particular game, aren't they better at it? Whoever is trying to replicate that now, will they, if they are playing by the playbook that the APC has used before, is it possible that they can actually do what the APC did before 2015? Meanwhile, a member of the House of Reps is actually urging Atiku and Obi to step down for President Tinubu, saying that Buhari, who was from the north, former President Muhammadu Buhari, did 2 terms. So it is only fair that President Tinubu, who's a southern president, should complete 2 terms, and that others should rally behind him.
What you should think about is what is the legacy Tinubu is trying to leave behind? What is the policy thrust? The twin issue of subsidy is gone, and the floating of the naira. Where are Nigerians to? That is the point. Not whether Tinubu should be left alone to complete this now. We don't have that luxury of time. 2 years, it's enormous for Nigerians. By the time you look at where we were 2 years ago and now, any person that is advocating for a continuation of regime, I think the person should be re-examined. Because my position, my status, my condition in 2023 January is not the same now. It has deteriorated to other Nigerians. That's what we're saying. I'm not talking about the continuation or condemnation linked to Tinubu to do. Tinubu has demonstrated the fact, or APC as a government said they will continue from where Muhammad Buhari stopped. By the time you suppose Tinubu's administration and Muhammad Buhari's administration, you even find out that Muhammad Buhari's administration is even better for Nigerians than these 2 years was that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been in the start of. And if you extrapolate the next 2 more years, where will it be? They are talking about Naira has stabilized. Stabilized from where? What was it when they took over? We are talking about food inflation is coming down, that the cost of food is coming down. What was it before they came on board? That is what is critical. But they will go out to do propaganda to the effect that this is a stabilizer and all that. Like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said some few months ago that the economy is stabilizing. We are out. Let us translate this thing into cascade it to the ordinary man on the street. The parents are running helter skelter to pay school fees. We made a bag of rice at 30 something thousand. It went up to 100 and now it's about 70, 75. And you are clapping for yourself that the food inflation is coming down. And how can you, as a government, because the Minister of State for Agriculture, the president have directed that food prices come down. I said economics is about alternatives. So there are no more economic forces. So you can let the price of this come down and it comes down. Oh my God. That's where right.
Masiamo Bihegwer, before you go, let's quickly talk about insecurity in Nigeria and the feelings of some Nigerians and social commentators about insecurity, how to solve it, the causes, and those who are involved. Unfortunately, we're getting reports that a lawmaker representing Pangshin South constituency in the Plateau State House of Assembly has been kidnapped. This is not the first time we are seeing this happen to politically exposed people. Ordinary Nigerians are also facing kidnap, insurgency, terrorism, and other criminal activities in different parts of the country, right? But this is happening to a sitting Plateau lawmaker. Now, we have a social commentator, Shehu Ghazali Sadiq, who posted on X saying that only a fool will believe that the APC has no hand in terrorism in northern Nigeria. His actual words that he posted on Twitter, on X, formerly called Twitter, earlier today, or rather yesterday by 3:22 p.m. was only a fool will believe that APC government has no hand in terrorism in northern Nigeria. The signs are too obvious for all to see. And quite a number of Nigerians were commenting, saying that the reason why many other Nigerians feel this way is because instead of the government to distance themselves from financing terrorists, they negotiate with them and protect them. We saw the peace deal that happened in Katsina State earlier, and we saw how even after that, there were still reports of people being abducted. There were still reports of traditional rulers being killed. The terrorists came out, with their weapons to a peace meeting. They were given mics to talk. They were being interviewed by journalists. So when we have a government or an administration that interfaces with the people who are causing havoc in the country and say that this is a non-kinetic approach, how can Nigerians actually believe that these people want to solve insecurity?
It was a former head of state in this country that said, if insecurity persists for 48 hours, ask government. Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, also was on television about 2-3 weeks ago to say that bandits are being paid and all that. Governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, said, knows where these people are. They are on his phone. He can locate them. Give me 2 months. I will exterminate Boko Haram. Insurgents, banditry, and what have you. My dear, I am towing their line. What happened in Katsina was a show of shame. These guys came with their armory as if they are wearing necklace. And they are being held by citizens. They even address press conferences and all that. So if you tell me you are fighting banditry, how do I agree with you? I would rather tilt with the former head of state, Santana Abacha, who said, ask government if this thing continues for 48 hours. I will also, align myself with what El-Rufai said about payment to bandits and all that. I will also align myself with what Dauda Lawal, Zamfara State governor, said about knowing where these people are. So when you put all these things together, when you aggregate them, it goes a long way to buttress the argument you have made here that government, is complicit on this. Otherwise, Nigerian soldiers are very fine soldiers. They go on peace mission. With our sophisticated equipment to cannot jet of this world and what have you, we are yet to, we are yet to combat this menace called banditry, insurgents, and what have you. It is very, very unfortunate. About 2 weeks ago, the chief of defense staff, Christopher Musa, talked about defending themselves and all that. When you put everything together, it goes a long way to suggest complicity with the Nigerian government. Because you cannot tell me that these people can overwhelm our Nigerian army. I do not think so. Our Nigerian army has demonstrated excellence when they go on peace mission. So how is it now that they cannot, within their own homes, exterminate these people? You don't negotiate with them, you weaken them. You weaken them sufficiently.
It's been called the non-kinetic approach.
Sorry, Chairman. The issue of kinetic and non-kinetic approach. Use kinetic sufficiently, 80-85% kinetic. Then you can come down when you are now holding the longer end of the stick. The remnants you can discuss with. Not you start discussing ammunition, empowering them by giving them money. They will go and buy equipment and come back and kill your people. We are driving and whining with them. So if we do not change strategy, I see these insurgents going too far, longer than expected.
Nigerians really hope that would not be the situation, as it is the government's responsibility when it comes to the security of lives and property, because you cannot expect the people to raise their own force of protection. Although we do have vigilantes and other minute security forces in different villages and communities, but we cannot continue to depend on that as Nigerians. Mazi Amobi Ihegber, thank you so much for joining me on the World News at 12 this afternoon. It's been a very enlightening conversation.
Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure to have you here. We hope when we call on you next time, you will join us again.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Safe.
All right then, Nigeria first. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. I've been in conversation with Mazi Amobi Ihegber. He's a political, social, national and public affairs analyst, and we have been talking about the issues on the world news at 12. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that Trump will address the United Nations General Assembly as France recognizes Palestinian state. A known gunman kidnapped Plateau lawmaker. Security operatives reopen Senator Natasha's office at the National Assembly, and the RAPS member urges Atiku will be to step down for President Tinubu. And that is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903 FM for coverage of your live event and brand news mentioned on our news bulletins. Do send the mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Matters will be coming up by 1:30 p.m. with Solomon of M.